All right, folks, due to high demand, I now have an official merchandise store. By clicking the link in the description below, you can check out the wide array of stuff I have, from shirts, sweatpants, hoodies, and even coffee mugs you can put your name on. All proceeds will go to my free youth athletic programs within my job, so please consider helping the cause. Thank you so much, and have a good day. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Phantom Boxing, a brand new company starting in late 2019. They sent us a great discount code for awesome subscribers. Go to phantomboxing.co.uk if you want to try enter their 6 styles of boxing gloves, headgear, groin guards, hand wraps, or their Cobra Reflex bag. And when you go to checkout and enter the code CombatCorp10 to save 10% off any and all purchases. That's CombatCorp10 for any and all purchases. Thanks again to Phantom Boxing, and enjoy the show. All right, folks, with the conclusion of UFC 254, there is one big question that's surrounding everyone's mind, and that is, what bracket are we going to have when it comes to the UFC lightweight division, and who's going to be the next champion? Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, Khabib. A bunch of people have said they're going to retire, then they come right back, but I think it's a lot different in this situation. I think people are actually going to be surprised to see that Khabib will keep his word to his mother and to his family and will not at all have anything to do with coming back at any point in time in the future. So here I have the rankings, and I want to go over who you think might wind up becoming the next contender for the UFC lightweight champion. And that's the cool thing about this division, is that it is so stacked, and there's a lot of people within it that are going to make it very interesting. Right now, though, I think what's going to wind up happening, which kind of drives me nuts, is, as far as this goes, assuming Khabib does stay retired, which I really do think he will. In this case, obviously, you lose your father and you keep your word to your mother, and you want to keep that as closely bonded as you can. But you have Justin Gaethje, who just got blown out by Khabib, in the second round, and it wasn't even close. And then you have Gaethje, who says he wants to get back in the ring in 6 to 8 weeks. Now, there's a lot of things that can go on here, right? But I realistically think the UFC might give him a bit of a break and maybe let him take time off, or they're going to throw him someone else. And there's a lot that can go on. But I think what's going to happen is this. I think you're going to have Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor fight for the undisputed vacant championship. And the reason why I say that is because you have McGregor, who fought a year ago against Cowboy and blew him out in the first round, right? And although Cowboy is only ranked number 15 in the lightweight division now, I don't think that they're going to give him any type of big match anytime soon, especially I think he's on a 3 or 4 fight losing streak now. But you have McGregor and Dustin, who have been talking about doing like a sparring match for charity. And then the UFC says, oh, here's a better idea. How about we do it in January? So I think that's going to be the big New Year's card that we have every year. Maybe at the end of December or January or February, you're going to have Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier for the undisputed vacant lightweight championship, and then it's going to start going down from there. And then maybe because of that, we'll have Conor McGregor active a little bit more in the world. Hopefully he doesn't keep it so, he doesn't keep a division on lock like he did before. That's why I don't like having McGregor in the rankings like he is now. Just because he's done a lot of damage to each division in that he wins it, he doesn't defend it. In fact, he hasn't defended a title once in the UFC. And he's been stripped from 2 titles between the lightweight and the featherweight division, right? And the other thing is he likes to jump up to welterweight all the time. And Dustin Poirier, in an interview with Ariel Helwani, even said, oh, I've discussed it. I love the idea of this at 170. But it makes no sense, and at least Poirier sees that in some way. It makes no sense to him, because how are you going to have a lightweight championship bout in a welterweight division? It doesn't make any sense, right? I think now that it's open for a belt, it's going to pique McGregor's interest a lot more, and he wants to be champion again, so he's going to try his best to beat Dustin Poirier. Then I think what a lot of people are going to see happen is Tony Ferguson is probably going to fight someone like Michael Chandler from Bellator, and then what they'll do is they'll probably give someone like Dan Hooker to Justin Gaethje, and then maybe Charles Oliveira, if he gets past, he'll give him Islam Makhachev if he gets past RDA soon. Because RDA, former lightweight champion, is coming down from welterweight again to fight Islam Makhachev, who's supposed to be Khabib 2.0, if not even a little bit better than Khabib, which is scary to think. Now, when we talk about that, let's go into how I think that's going to play out by the UFC, or how I'd like to see it play out. Personally, if it were me, I would say the top four should fight each other. Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, number 2, should be for the undisputed belt, because Gaethje says he wants to fight in 6 to 8 weeks if he can, and that's around the same time frame that Dustin Poirier wants to fight. And then I think what you do for another main event, because you did it with Cowboy, why can't you do it with Tony Ferguson, is Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor for a number 1 contender spot. Right? I don't see why that wouldn't work, because that's a fight that Ferguson's wanted for a long time. You never hear McGregor mentioning it, but I think the world would absolutely love that bout because of the stakes that are up there, right? And I think it'd make a big booming noise in the world here. Now, the other thing I think should have happen is Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira should fight, because it's 6 and 5. This is how it normally should go. And then Michael Chandler said he wants to take some time off because he's been in camp for God knows how long. He's made weight for a bunch of different things than he really didn't need to, because Khabib and Gaethje wound up playing out. So there really isn't a whole big reason as to why that fight should take place. Now, let's see here. And I'm talking about Oliveira and Dan Hooker. I would honestly put Chandler in the rankings somewhere around where Paul Felder is, because we don't know if he's technically in the rankings anymore, because he hasn't made his retirement official yet, though I wish he would, so he wouldn't hold up a division. But then you also, once again, have Islam Makhachev in the discussion here. You can also do something like Kevin Lee versus Michael Chandler, which is a very good bout, but I think Chandler probably edges out Kevin Lee. So here's what you do. You do Islam versus RDA. Islam gets past, if Islam gets past, what's his name, RDA, then I say you give Chandler the break that he needs and deserves, and then they fight each other. The other thing I think should happen is Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira, because they're both 5 and 6. That catapults them to somewhere up here. Or you can throw a monkey wrench into everything, and you can have Ferguson versus Gaethje, because they have that time slot, because Ferguson's been saying in every interview, I want to stay active, I want to stay active, I want to stay active, which is fine. Gaethje does too in 6 to 8 weeks. Have that rematch. And then do Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor, and then maybe do Charles Oliveira versus the winner of Islam Makhachev and RDA, and then Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler, or vice versa, Dan Hooker versus the winner of RDA and Makhachev, and then Charles Oliveira versus Chandler. And I think that's a big tournament that you can do. There's a lot of options that you can go with here, but the big monkey wrench in it is, once again, Michael Chandler. Where do you place him? Though he was the champion in Bellator, and although he lost his last championship bout, do you put him right into a title contention picture? Because if that's the case, then they're going to do Justin Gaethje. This is exactly how it would go. It would be Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler for the championship, which would be insane. So you would have that. Or you'd have Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor, Tony Ferguson versus Dan Hooker or Charles Oliveira, and then you have Islam Makhachev face one of those guys that wins or loses that tournament. But the thing is, I don't think Ferguson wants any other fight other than something that has a belt on the line. Although he lost, you got to understand, he was on a 12-fight winning streak. He cut weight. He made it just about every time, except for the times he got injured into those fights, right? And he took the fight with Justin Gaethje on short notice, somewhat, sort of. And there was a lot of things that he had to do, right? And I still think he deserves that title shot, just like Anthony Johnson beat Alexander Gustafsson, but Gustafsson still fought for the title. And then you have Conor McGregor, lost a welterweight bout to Nate Diaz, then goes back and beats Nate Diaz, and then wins the lightweight championship, which makes no sense. You know, you have John Jones, who came off all these PED suspensions and all these other suspensions and comes back and fights for a championship instead of fighting his way back. Although he never lost, he still broke all those rules, and you think there's a lot of other people that competed way more than he did in that period of time, which is why, if it were up to me, I would take McGregor out of that picture for a little bit, just because he hasn't won a bout in a few years besides Cowboy. And I'd do something like Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier 2, Tony Ferguson versus Dan Hooker, and then I'd do Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira to see where Michael Chandler can be put, because you can't put all your eggs into the Michael Chandler basket as of yet. And the reason why I say that is because Eddie Alvarez came over and he had very good success, right? He was a positive record in the UFC. He lost to Cerrone. All right, so we have that. He lost to Cerrone, then he beat Melendez, Pettis, and RDA to win the title. He lost to McGregor. Then he beat Gaethje. He had a draw with, or no contest with Poirier, and then lost to Poirier. So at the end of the day, he did very well within the UFC. I feel like I'm missing a fight there as well. But he did very well in the UFC. So we were very good to actually hold him up to those standards as the great that he is. But then you have Will Brooks, who came in, barely beat Ross Pearson, who was on his way out, who wasn't even ranked at the time, I don't think, and then loses his next 3 bouts to, I think, Cowboy Oliveira, and then I want to say it was Charles Oliveira, and then there was another guy that beat him. And then, you can't put all your eggs in that one basket. Then you have someone like Justin Gaethje, who's WSOF champ, came over and he lost. He won 1, lost 2, and then he won 3 more and 1. Kind of like the whole Eddie Alvarez situation. So I think this is the same thing that you can say about someone like Michael Chandler. Do we know if he's going to be so good that we can just put him in the top 10 and just expect him to fight with the Wolves? Is he that good, or is it true that Bellator is the said B League division, which I really don't think it is. But I also think Michael Chandler is asking a lot to just go in there. But I think the big fight the UFC wants to make right now is Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler. The only issue is Tony Ferguson does not want a fight that does not involve a belt of any kind. I think the only other fight that he wanted was McGregor or Poirier. And I think he just wanted McGregor because he genuinely dislikes McGregor. And then I think he wanted Poirier because he thought it was going to be for the number 1 contender spot. But I think Poirier-McGregor is going to be the next fight. I think they're probably going to do Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. And then I think they're going to give Tony Ferguson, or try to give Tony Ferguson, Dan Hooker or Charles Oliveira. And then Islam Makhachev is going to be shot right up into the top 3 after, if he beats RDA, of course. That's something we don't know. But Islam Makhachev is also only ranked number 12 right now. So, if he beats an unranked guy in RDA coming back down, who was a former champion, and then they shoot him up past Dariush, Lee, Iaquinta, Ferreira, Felder, and then they put him in the top 5 or 6, which very well could happen because, of course, he's Khabib's teammate and training partner, and everyone's hyping him up to be the next big thing in the lightweight division. They can easily put him up there in the top 5 discussion with Gaethje, Poirier, Ferguson, McGregor, and Hooker, and Oliveira, and all those guys. But right now, the top 6 is 7, and I'll put Michael Chandler in there if he is truly in that division. We'll talk about the 8 people right now. That is a big bracketed tournament, right? You got Gaethje, Poirier, Ferguson, McGregor, Hooker, Oliveira. That's 6. And then you also have Islam Makhachev and Michael Chandler to be talking about, because not a whole lot of people are talking about Paul Felder, Ferreira, Iaquinta, Lee, or Gregor Gillespie, Drew Dober, or Donald Cerrone right now, which is, sad about Cerrone, but that's just realistically how it is. I think what it should be, the final bracket of what I would love to see would be Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier face-off for the undisputed title, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor face-off for, for the number 1 contender spot. I think Dan Hooker and Charles Oliveira fight, and then they fight, say, the loser of Poirier and Gaethje, right? And then I think if it were up to me, I think you give RDA someone else, and then you do Islam Makhachev versus Michael Chandler, and then have them move up the ranks naturally that way. I know that's a lot. It's a big thing that you have to digest and take apart, but I really think this is something important with the lightweight division. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please comment, subscribe, like, and tell me what you think should happen in the UFC's lightweight division below. I'd love to hear what you think is going to happen, but I really do think I have it nailed down. I do think they are going to do Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, probably do Justin Gaethje and Ferguson, or Ferguson and Chandler. At the end of the day, I know for certain one thing that is going to happen is for sure Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier for the undisputed belt. Just because it's Conor McGregor, it's going to be a big money grab. Once again, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I can't wait to see and read what you had down, and let me know what you think of my comments. If you like it, tell me, and if you don't, tell me that I'm full of it and that I have something wrong here. With that said, I'll see you on the next episode.